captain did right by us once.
What was
Now
that
it's
sausage?
our turn. The board will never own groundbreakers. Not while I breathe. Push on, Mardat.
Open fire!
Dirt alert! Dirt alert!
That's how it's done, Captain. What was that? Incoming!
Open fire!
No!
Stay back!
The captain did right by us once.
What
Now
was
it's
that?
our
What's that noise?
The board will never own groundbreakers. Not while I breathe.
What was that?
Push on, Mardat.
Fire! Paperwork. There's garbage up the airlock.
Purify.
Got the body of the rest of the What's that noise?
Moving passive mode.
I'll take this one. There's garbage up the airlock. Wasting my time. Open fire! I'm taking cover! Groundbreaker doesn't need trash like you.
Caution! Infestation encroaching!
Bread, you say?
Area sanitization assessment. The Labyrinth on Tartarus. Task classification. Easy peasy.
I've got to admit, I'm not too keen on walking into a prison. They lock me up, I'm liable to kill everyone trying to get back out.
Would you like Sam to tidy up this area? Waiting for confirmation command. Confirmation command not received. Sensors indicate a decaying body in the area. Resuming passive mode.
Gotta admit, I'm keen on walking into prison. They lock me up, I'm liable to kill everyone trying to get back out.
Area sanitization assessment. The labyrinth on Tartarus. Task classification. Easy peasy.
Whew. We have a lot of shooting to do, Captain.
Here we go.
Bring him down!
I'm going.
Navigating to requested location.
Sam units never lay down on the job.
Health alert. Leakage detected.
Gotta admit, I'm keen on walking into a prison. They lock me up, I'm liable to kill everyone trying to get back out.
Area sanitization assessment. The labyrinth on Tartarus. Task classification. Easy peasy. Would you like Sam to tidy up this area? Waiting for confirmation command. Confirmation command not received. Detected. Object is tuned to be specialists.
I'm going.
This area has been sanitized.
Sublight has arrived. Hey, kid. A little bird told me you could use our help. I said I owed you one, and I always pay my debts. We're not about to leave our favorite vice president hung out to dry. All we contractors. Go find some help. Tell him Lilia sent you.
Relocate.
On my way, Cap!
This unit's middle name.
They'll be feeding the world.
Industrial save! Sanitation and maintenance job fulfilled.
Here we go.
Showered with prejudice. Court routed. Unit moving to destination. Centrifuge probe activated.
Covering you! I'm going.
returning.
Reminder, lying in the dirt is unsanitary.
To your right. You make it dirty, Sam cleans it up. Sanitization incoming.
Cover! Reloading!
Please pick up.
Error. This unit is unable to do that. Good news, customer. All germs and contaminants have been neutralized. substance is resistant to cleaning efforts. Resuming passive mode.
Coming, Captain. Here I go.
Wrong tool for the job.
Nice work!
Substance is resistant to cleaning efforts.
Everyone all right?
Get in there, troops. For Monarch. For Halcyon.
Analysis of efforts. Wrong tool for the job.
You're not worth the paperwork.
Entering quiet mode.
I'm working as fast as I can, all right? If y'all would quit bothering me, I'd get this done sooner. Of course. Why? Well, we don't always get what we want. Go on, let me do my job. Is that a joke? Y'all call me out to fix the FPS and now you're asking me who I am? Whatever. I need to fix this before I get in trouble, so stop bothering me. Forced pacification. Anyway, I need to fix... What? Why? Well, we don't always get what we want. Go on, let me do my job. Fixing the F...
Here we go.
Resuming passive mode.
Get in there, troops. For Monarch. For Halcyon.
Substance is resistant to training efforts. One order of frickin' fans coming up.
I am a sword!
Reminder, lying in the dirt is unsanitary.
Unit moving to destination. Sanitization incoming. Detected! Good news, customer. All germs and contaminants have been neutralized. Object is tuned to be speckless.
Covering you!
Detected. Clean cycle back to industrial state.
Congrats, you say? Here I go. Incoming!
Resistant to cleaning efforts. Analysis of efforts. Roll wrong tools for the job. Scoured with prejudice. Entropy probe activated. Cleaning cycle complete.
On my way. Will do, Captain. Sure thing, Captain.
Well, look who it is. I'll be damned. I was prepping the studio for our announcement, and here you are as a bonus. I knew I smelled Monarch when you lot walked in. The stench of sulfur, depression, and desperate bravado is unmistakable.
Keep talking, and you'll be smelling iron. Ain't nobody so important I won't put a bullet in him.
And... oh, I had heard you were dragging around a repurposed janitorial mechanical. My staff jokes that it's because you're a walking pile of refuse.
Interactive database updated. The unique organic substance labeled Chairman has been classified as filth, imminent for incineration.
When you go off and get yourself shot, try to avoid taking one to the face. I'll want it recognizable to show to my citizens. My word! You've correctly identified the most recognizable man in the colony. Remarkable. It's a wonder what Phineas saw in you. Then again, he's an insane person. Thankfully, he's our insane person now. A proper company man. Oh, the look on your face. Fantastic! No, he isn't quite there yet. A bit more torture will help, I think. But that's between us. As far as my adoring citizens will know, we've turned a dangerous crackpot into a working-class man. It's a miracle.
That will leave us. Has been sanitized. Unit moving to destination.
Here we go.
Sanitation and maintenance job fulfilled. Difficult job ahead? Consider equipping a pack of Sam's Special Solvent Stain-Out Remover. It's ruthless on residual blood splatter.
Take a breath, folks. Once we're up there, I suspect we ain't gonna have time to stop shooting.
Captain, you have an uncanny talent for complicating my life. You've disrupted the balance of power. You've upset the natural order of things. You've introduced uncertainty, and there is nothing I despise more than uncertainty. I'm afraid I can't do that. For all your talents, you are the enemy of Halcyon, and therefore you are my enemy. I have no intention of dying on Tartarus, Captain. Not when there's so much work left to do. I admit I miscalculated the extent of your influence. The board's plan never accounted for you. This is a mistake I intend to correct. I have Dr. Wells in my custody. Once I've secured his cooperation, I can move forward with the program. I can repair the damage you've done. I can set things right. Well, that's mostly correct. You're not leaving here at all. I take no pleasure in this, you know. I simply have no other option. Leaving you alive is too great a risk. Goodbye, Captain. If you insist. This prison is equipped with an automechanical warden. I've had it programmed to eliminate you on sight and rinse your remains down a drain. And don't worry. I will inform Dr. Wells that you died heroically or something.
Course routed. Relocating.
Processing.
Substance is resistant to cleaning efforts. Fairly is this unit's middle name. On your right, customer.
Garbage disposal mode.
Processing.
Making
data.
tracks.
Beginning.
Invasive contaminant detected. Fairly is this unit's middle name. Caution! Keep fingers and toes clear of unit moving parts. Clean cycle back to industrial stain.
Warning. Crew member requires maintenance.
Making tracks. I'm going.
Take out the trap. Object is tuned to be specialist.
To shreds, you say?
Execute mode activated. Megalopolis. Warning customer. You appear to be leaking. Relocating. Mobile command accepted. Course routed.
Here we go.
These are ineffective against this stain. One order of frickin' fan coming up. Wrong tool for the job. Mobile command.
Unit down.
You make it, you stand, it up.
Go! Here I go! I am a
Every SAM unit comes lean, mean, and ready.
Why won't you just die?
Area has been sanitized.
You don't know how glad I am to see you. You did the right thing. Akande was a monster. Her death was much deserved, and long overdue. And you lunatic, you broke into the board's own fortress just to rescue one doddering old man. You are absolutely out of your mind, and I can't begin to thank you enough. I know, my friend, I know. And now it's finally over. The board's finished. It's only a matter of time before the entire system slips from their grasp. You've broken the board's stranglehold on this colony, and you saved my life. But there's still so much we have yet to accomplish. You and I are going to have to work harder than ever to save Halcyon. I'm afraid the situation is far worse than any of us ever anticipated. Earth has gone dark. We haven't received a single message in 3 years. There's been no communication, no signals, nothing. 2 years ago, the Earth's Directorate's frigate disappeared on their way back to Earth. We don't know what they discovered when they arrived, or if they arrived at all.
So we've got to make do on our own. Seems to me that'll make us stronger in the end anyhow.
You're quite right. We've got no choice but to make do on our own. We're in serious trouble, my friend. Do you know what this means for Halcyon? We can't rely on Earth for support anymore. We've been cut loose. We're entirely on our own. Yes, certainly. I'll help however I can. I don't know what happened, but something must have gone horribly wrong. I don't know what. We have no connection back to Earth, and I heard it from Akande herself. She tried to pressure me into joining her side. She was half right. we are alone, and we're going to have to fend for ourselves, because there's no telling what's happened to Earth. You might have heard of the Earth Directorate's frigate. Half the colony's entire military was on that ship. They were returning to Earth when they vanished. That was 2 years. Yes, we do. You've done a... We must begin the revival process immediately, starting with the hopes of... We're going to need a leader, and I can't imagine a better person for the job than you. What do you say, old friend? Will you help us? I can't tell you how glad I am to hear that. When I revived you, I thought we were going to save this colony all by ourselves. But I was wrong. We can't save Halcyon on our own. We're all going to have to pull together, somehow. We are not a colony anymore. Our last connection to Earth has been severed. I don't know if we'll survive, but we're going to have to try our best.
The OSI teaches that everything in the universe happens according to the grand plan. But the stranger that arrived in Halcyon was an unplanned variable. From the moment he landed in Emerald Vale, his actions altered the course of history. The events on Tartarus brought about the end of the board's authority. But the board's mistakes would haunt the colony for decades to come. The damage they left behind would require the work of a generation to repair. Dr. Phineas Wells began reviving a handful of the Hope's colonists, engineers, scientists, technicians, and intellectuals. They were among the brightest minds the Earth had ever sent out into the stars. The Hope scientists and engineers woke up in a colony descending headlong into total collapse. With no way to return to Earth, they had no choice but to band together and devote themselves to the cause of saving Halcyon. The people of Halcyon were nothing if not hardy. In the absence of the board's authority, many of the colony's settlements banded together with a single purpose in mind: survival. Life was especially hard in the years to come. Some towns dissolved by attrition and starvation, but most of them found a way to carry on. In the years to come, Halcyon was forced to reckon with its newfound freedom. The board was gone, and for better or worse, the colony was responsible for its own destiny. As the colony struggled to survive, the inspirational story of the iconoclasts spread like wildfire, and Graham was able to bring many of the smaller Terra-2 townships into the fold. However, his zealous obsession with spreading the word blinded him to the needs of a growing organization, and the movement was unsustainable at scale. The iconoclast way seemed to work best, and ultimately petered out on Monarch. Bolstered by her status as savior of humanity, Lilia Hagen ushered sublight salvage to a new golden age. Her company grew bolder and more transparent over time, muddying the line between lawful and criminal for the entire colony. The Sublight family would thrive for years to come. The collapse of Edgewater left its workers bereft of any purpose in life. Most of them made their way to Adelaide McDevitt's camp, hoping to ingratiate themselves into her favor. Adelaide accepted only a few to her community. The rest were turned away and likely died of starvation. Nevertheless, Adelaide's camp grew into a well-established town. Adelaide McDevitt refused to cooperate with the ongoing effort to save Halcyon from collapse. A sympathetic deserter stole a copy of her research and delivered it to the Hope's scientists. It is unclear how useful Adelaide's research was, An optimistic estimate suggests her work may have bought Halcyon another few years of survival. Adelaide would never know. She died that winter. Under the leadership of Junlei Tennyson, the groundbreaker held firm against corporate influence. The ship's mechanical stability gave Junlei the time to educate a promising generation of engineers schooled in her family's traditions. The future of the groundbreaker looks promising. The rediscovery of the Hope and the abandonment of the lifetime employment program forced Byzantium to come to terms with some uncomfortable realities about the state of Halcyon. While Byzantines were reluctant to surrender the luxuries they'd grown accustomed to, the board's diminished authority gave them little choice in the matter. Nearly everyone had to learn to make do with less. Some even had to get jobs. It was a dark time indeed. Your influence further cemented Ellie's perspective. She understood she could never truly rely on others, so she set about making sure she wouldn't have to. With a steady income from the life insurance payouts, she was finally able to afford a ship of her own. She enjoyed a long and infamous career running missions across the system. Some of them were even legal. Life in Halcyon was sobering for Felix Millstone. The grand revolution he dreamed of never came. There was no great awakening for the colony, no celebrations in the streets. There was only the hard, desperate work of trying to repair a broken colony. Felix never had a head for numbers, but if there was labor to be done, he was there to help. Eventually, Felix realized that the work of a revolution was done with two hands. As much as he enjoyed his adventures aboard the Unreliable, the vicar, known as Max, eventually decided that it was time to move on, to live out the life he had sought so long to create. He knew there were many in the colony who carried burdens much worse than the ones he had struggled with, and he devoted himself to easing their suffering wherever he could. He only ever took up arms again to defend the defenseless. Unshackled from a lifetime of striving and fighting the universe and himself, Vicar Maximilian de Soto was finally at peace. Though Parvati eventually grew comfortable aboard the Unreliable, she never quite came out of her shell. She seemed to prefer the company of Ada to the crew, and she could often be found neck-deep in cables and grease, telling Ada funny stories from her childhood. While the colony fell into chaos, she found an island of relative peace with Ada, and they formed an unusual bond. She decided to remain aboard the Unreliable permanently as its chief and sole engineer. Nyoka returned to Monarch to take another crack at making a permanent life for herself. She formed the Charon Group, a mercenary outfit of ragtag survivalists and wilderness experts. Anyone in need of a guide or just looking to throw back a beer and swap stories could find her camping on the trail or clearing an infestation. The SAM unit that accompanied you spread awareness of the product line's superior sanitation and maintenance capabilities across what was left of the colony. This led to a boost in SAM unit sales. Did you know that SAM units are the longest-lasting, toughest-acting cleaning solution in Halcyon? Minister Clark was released from house arrest, and his contact with you gave him a sense of renewed purpose and vigor. Once it became clear that no help would be coming from Earth, he threw his considerable efforts and talents into helping Halcyon manage the crisis before it. As for Dr. Phineas Wells, he spent his remaining years in his orbital lab. Though he was always haunted by the failures of his past, he was determined to make things right by building toward the future. Dr. Wells was able to revive many more scientists and engineers than he first expected, thanks to the additional batch of chemicals you stole from the ministry. Wells never forgot about the human lives that were lost in acquiring these chemicals. The revival project was hard and painful work, but in the end, despite limited resources, over half the Hope's colonists were successfully revived. Even after Wells passed away, The Hope scientists and engineers worked night and day to pull Halcyon from the brink of collapse. Their efforts continue to this day, which may be reason enough for optimism. Dr. Wells laid the groundwork for the project to save the colony, but he would never live to see the fruits of his labor. He passed away a few years later. His work was carried on by the scientists and engineers he revived. Life will never be the same in Halcyon. It is widely agreed that the colony has a chance of stabilizing within a generation, owing to the hard work and determination of the surviving colonists. Recovery is a distant goal, and the path is long and uncertain. But the people of Halcyon carry on, determined as ever. And what about you, the unplanned variable in the history of Halcyon? Long after Wells passed away, you carried on his work with more energy, determination, and brilliance than he could ever muster. The years that followed were hard, but Halcyon survived by the efforts of the Hope's most promising colonists, the greatest of which was you. No one knows what's happened to Earth, and no one knows what the future has in store for Halcyon. All we know for certain is this: the name of the Unreliable and that of its intrepid captain will remain the subject of countless stories for years to come.